Earnings per share is an interesting one. When you're looking at an income statement, all the way down at the bottom, you're going to see net income. Net income is our bottom line. That's how profitable our company is. But after that, you may see a couple of things called earnings per share, whether it's basic earnings per share and or diluted earnings per share. Let's go back to what just earnings per share is. Earnings per share takes net income divided by the number of shares outstanding. Why do we use earnings per share? Earnings per share is one of the ways that we look at valuing our stock price. So generally, if we're growing earnings per share, we have a healthy earnings per share, our stock price is going to grow with our earnings per share. That's why it's so important as a publicly traded company, especially, to grow our earnings per share, to continue to influence the growth of our stock price. That's what our investors want. So we've got to do it. The nice thing is if we can get our earnings per share to grow faster than our peers, faster than the industry, faster than the market, our stock price is also going to grow faster than all of that, theoretically. Now, there are two types of earnings per share, like I said before. There's basic earnings per share and there's diluted earnings per share. Basic earnings per share takes all of the shares that are currently owned by investors. So net income divided by all of those shares, we call them basic common shares. Diluted earnings per share takes all those basic shares that are currently owned by investors and adds what we call convertibles. Now, the most common convertible there is are stock options. So it takes the basic shares, adds those stock options. It's a much more conservative way of looking at it. We're assuming that those stock options could be exercised, so now all of a sudden they become basic shares. So usually diluted earnings per share is going to be lower than basic earnings per share. And 99% of the time when someone is just talking about earnings per share, we're talking about diluted earnings per share because it's a more conservative view of earnings per share. Investors care about earnings per share. The internal business cares about earnings per share, especially in a publicly traded company, because shareholders are one of our major stakeholders, right? So we are beholden to them. Theoretically, everything that the business owns belongs to those shareholders, and shareholders want a return. There are only two ways that shareholders get a return. One is a dividend, we actually give them cash back, or they're buying low and selling high. So to be able to buy low and sell high, they need the stock price to grow, and the best way to grow stock price, or one of the best ways to grow stock price, is to grow our earnings per share. Earnings per share is typically found on an income statement. Now, if you're not a publicly traded company, you may not have earnings per share, and it may not show up on the income statement. But all publicly traded companies are going to have earnings per share show up somewhere on their income statement. Again, all it is the profit that is attributable to each share of ownership. And what we want to do is grow that profit per share so our stock price grows as well. And as investors, as our stock price grows, that's how we get our return.